after a minute or two, it told me your recording is ready. So I was grateful for that. Okay. Again, good evening, everyone. Hi, Candy.
Hello.
Um, thank everyone for being here as we continue to work toward whatever our end goal is as it relates to gun violence, or whatever we decide how we want to proceed. So we have been having a series of listen and learns to learn more about what's going on in the community as it relates to gun violence and gun violence prevention and safety, and how we as the league can add to or can come into that without reinventing the wheel, and just serving wherever it is that we can serve. So I will start with the welcome to our commissioner, Desmond Duncan Walker. Thank you for being our special guest this evening. And Commissioner Walker is the commissioner for District 1. And she was the first commissioner, or the commissioner that brought this to the forefront right before that summit, as far as gun violence prevention is concerned. So we will go around and introduce ourselves. We are the league, and we are the committee, that the gun violence prevention and safety committee for the League of Women Voters. There are about I guess about 18 that are on this committee, but they're not always on the meetings. They listen to our recordings afterward, and go from there. But we're glad to have those here this evening to get feedback. So we'll start with I'm with Suzanne.
Good evening. My name's Susie Hutto, and I live in Gainesville, and we've been here for about 3 years. We came from St. Petersburg, Florida, and I'm very grateful to be a part of this committee.
Thank you. Connie.
Hi, my name is Connie Nicklin. I'm the communications chair for League of Women Voters of Alachua County, and I have travel full-time on the road in an RV, though I used to live in Gainesville for more than 20 years. So Gainesville is near and dear to my heart, and I like to know what's going on with all the various committees so I can help promote the activities that are going on there. So I appreciate you allowing me to join.
Thank you, Connie. Sheila.
Hi, I'm Sheila Allison Wells, and I moved to Gainesville December of 2020 in the thick of the pandemic. It sounds like you did too, Connie. And I've just been trying to get involved with the community and meet people. And I'm happy to be a part of this.
And we thank you for being a part. All right, Candy.
I have three passions. One has to do with voting, one has to do with healthcare, and the other one has to do with gun violence. So I was so grateful when Gwen started, took advantage of that initiative that the city did, and can't think of a better leader for this. So thank you, Gwendolyn, for being a part of that. And like Connie says, I mean, she's such a good person to let us know how to express our concerns about gun violence. She's such a great communications director for the league. So
Thank you. And yes, I follow Connie on Facebook, and I go wherever she goes in that RV vicariously. um, so I did send out an agenda. I know, Commissioner, you didn't get the agenda, but I did send it out to the committee members. So just a brief recap from our previous meeting. So that gives you, Commissioner, some idea as to what it is that we've been doing. Or we just started this committee, and our first meeting was in December. So this is our third meeting. And this committee was formed to coordinate the league's efforts to reduce gun violence and increase gun safety in the community. They are a legislative priority. Those two things are a legislative priority of the League of Women Voters for Florida, thus a priority for us as a chapter. And we support any legislation that can improve gun safety and reduce gun violence. And so we also determined that we will support the city of Gainesville and Alachua County government in reducing gun violence in the community if we can, whatever we can do in that regard. And I will say right there, sometimes by the time I get information regarding what the city or county is doing, is the day of or a few days before. So I'm going to work on trying to be a part of getting that information more timely. So right now, as I said earlier, we're conducting a listen and learn series to determine how we can work with the community organizations and agencies regarding these issues. The first meeting that we held, we had a speaker from another um, chapter in Florida, Broward County League of Women Voters, and they have a program called Lock It Up, a gun safety program where they have distributed over 3,000 gun locks in Broward County. 30,000, not 3,000, 30,000. And so we're working to emulate them in a way. And they have been very good in sharing information with us. Then our second meeting featured a speaker from Moms Demand Action. So we heard from the legislative lead for that organization, and again discuss ways in which we can work with them, and we've already begun doing that. So then, Commissioner, you are our third speaker, and we want to hear from you as to what you're doing, what you're thinking, what's going on with the city, how you think we might fit in, any of those things. How we can serve better to as we work toward gun violence prevention and gun safety. And I tell you, we have been distributing gun locks. I have been able to secure those from Commissioner Book. Well, I haven't gotten them yet, but I've gotten promise from him. I just haven't gotten with him yet. But from the Veterans Administration, from the police department there. So at all of our events, whatever table and events the league has, we have gun locks available, and we do distribute those. Um, and we, as I said, all those other things that we want to advocate to make prevention and gun violence the priority, and we want to be involved in events and initiatives. We will advertise those on our social media as much as we can. Anything that's going on in the city to try to reach a bigger audience. So those are some of our action items that we already have started doing. So. Commissioner, we will hear from you at this point, Honorable Desmond Duncan Walker. But right before I start, if I could ask, if I can do Connie, will you please take notes? I am recording, but it helps to have some written notes as well, if you don't mind. So, go ahead.
I was just going to say thank you to everyone that is on this Zoom. What a joy and a pleasure to join you tonight. And also what a joy it is to know that the League of Women Voters has taken the position that it has taken to address gun violence and responsible gun ownership. You know that we are in critical times. The city of Gainesville, much like many cities throughout this country, is facing what I believe is really an unprecedented moment in time. We are witnessing a proliferation of gun violence, not just amongst any group, but we are witnessing a proliferation of gun violence amongst our youngest community members. And I don't know about you, but that is so alarming that it causes me to lose sleep at night. One of the first things that I did when I came into office as the District 1 Commissioner was I held a gun violence town hall. And if I remember correctly, the name of that was Gun Violence from Community Issue to Community Response. It was something along those lines, because if we miss the mark on pulling the community in, if we miss the mark on pulling the most impacted in, we are never going to begin to move the needle on addressing this issue. Municipal government has a role, absolutely, and it can be a number of things, from providing resources, et cetera, but we have got to make sure that we pull the people to the table. And so once again, I am so grateful to know that the League of Women Voters is already on the front end in terms of working towards addressing this. I thank you. I thank you. Your work is already making an impact. And I'm also grateful to my colleague, Commissioner Ed Book, who is providing the gun lots. That's good information to have. And I'm so grateful that you all are doing that. So I want to say it was back in, well, it was at the beginning of my term. Let me just say it like that. Sometimes the later that it gets, my ability to remember times kind of diminishes. So at the end of the day, when I first came into my term as a first term commissioner, we did this town hall and it attracted over 1,100 people. That is not because Commissioner Duncan Walker is so great. That is because this community understands that we have a Goliath, we have a mammoth, a problem, an issue of epic proportions that a lot of people wanted to comment on. I asked for staff to make sure that we took notes, that we kept a very good record of what the community was telling us, because it didn't need to be just another conversation. We needed to become active participants in addressing this issue. And frankly, we needed to use that opportunity that evening to collect data. We had individuals who were sharing with us ways that they felt we could respond. We had individuals who were sharing with us personal testimonies about how gun violence had impacted them. We had experts who were sharing different things that they had participated in previously. And it was a wonderful, wonderful beginning as far as I was concerned. So I do not forsake that initial conversation that happened at the beginning of my term with over 1,000 people, like I say. And I have to tell you, by the end of that conversation, we still had people holding on the line who were hoping to comment. So we had provided an opportunity for those individuals to continue to write in. They sent emails and they began a waiting process, to be honest with you, for the city of Gainesville to get back with them. It became a priority for me not to lose sight of those individuals that were still waiting to be heard, those individuals who had been heard, to see some forward movement in how we were going to address this. And so I began to talk to individuals in various parts of the state, individuals in various parts of the country, and I began looking at what has been done in other places. And the thing that became clear was that we were going to need a plan. I firmly believe if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So I looked around at other places. I looked at New York, and don't be frightened or alarmed by the fact that New York is this huge place. It is, but New York has a very interesting and very layered and detailed plan about how they are addressing gun violence. And it was something that I felt we could at least borrow from to use as a model. One of the things that stood out to me most is their prioritization of young people. I said at the very beginning of this conversation that we have to be very diligent and very intentional about pulling in the community. But I'll be honest, since we know that gun violence is proliferating amongst young people, we got to bring them to the table in a very meaningful way to address this. And honestly, they have to lead us. I started holding conversations in the community, in grocery stores, at community organization meetings with young people. And I asked them, what is it that you need to keep a gun out of your hand? What is it that you need to keep you safe? And they told me 4 things. They told me we need places to go, we need things to do, we need mentors, and we need jobs. Places to go, things to do, mentors, and jobs. That is something that literally has become a mantra for me. And it guides the work that I do. It guides the motions that I put forward on the floor. It guides the way that I advocate for not just members of District 1, but for all of us in this community. And so I put on the table a motion to declare gun violence as a crisis in Alachua County. Well, the city of Gainesville first. And then I said, you know, we cannot do this alone. We have to call on our colleagues across the street at the county to join us. So also a part of that motion became bringing in the county to work with us in this work. And that was important for a number of reasons. First of all, gun violence is not just a city of Gainesville issue. It is a county issue. It is a countywide issue. So it is a city and it is the surrounding areas. I was really disturbed to hear that we have gangs in Gainesville. Gainesville. Bloods, Crips. And I'm thinking, these children don't know anything about the Bloods and the Crips. They don't even understand the history of that's not even the point. But we have serious territorial issues between the East and the West. We also have a myriad issues that we face that are the root causes or have been identified as being root causes of this gun violence, whether it is access to affordable, safe housing, quality education, access to healthcare. All of those are at the core of why much of this gun violence is happening. And so a motion to make sure that we encapsulated why these things are proliferating in this city, the fact that the two municipal governments needed to make sure that we were partnering on this issue, the fact that a task force of members of this community with leadership from our youth needed to be assembled. All of those became pieces of this motion that got put forward and supported unanimously by the city. And that was great. Motions are wonderful, but motions have to be supported by resources. And so the city of Gainesville is in a very critical time itself, as we are facing another audit, as we are continuing to deal with issues from LWVAC previously. We're facing challenges, but we can walk and chew gum at the same time. So as we do that, we have recently brought on an individual. As a matter of fact, if they have not officially started, we have a gun violence coordinator position that has recently been filled. That individual will be assuming their role as this coordinator within the next week or so, if I'm not mistaken. That position is coming out of the city manager's office, and I believe it's my understanding that the city manager is a part of this organization. Am I correct, Ms. Sappho? Is Ms. Cynthia Curry a part of the League of Women Voters? And if she's not, I apologize.
Not that I'm aware of.
Got you. I don't know if it was this chapter. I believe I may have heard she was a part of another chapter somewhere. I assumed it was this one, but it mattereth not. The issue is that she has brought on this position into her office. We are very excited to see what is going to come of this position and what the work is that will be done. Now, I will share this with you. This position is being funded by ARPA dollars. And as you know, ARPA dollars are limited resources. So this position will literally end around 2026. I asked in a recent commission meeting what the impact of that will be. In other words, how much will we be able to get done between now and 2026? How will you condense whatever work it is that you will do into such a short time frame? And there's really no way to respond to that, but I'm saying that because I want us to keep that thought in our minds, that what the city is capable of doing, what the city's capacity is right now in terms of that position is very limited. But the work has to continue. So our partners over at the county become critical pieces in this puzzle. And right now we're trying to hash out who will do what. I have also put forward the need for infrastructure to address a sustained effort towards gun violence prevention. And that would mean an actual office. That would mean an actual office of neighborhood safety. Some communities call it Office of Violence Prevention. I have heard from some constituents recently that they don't like the term violence prevention. They prefer neighborhood safety. Whatever they want is fine with me, as long as the work gets done. And so these are things that we're working towards. We've had a few conversations now. We're slated for another conversation on the 27th of this month. It's a joint city-county meeting that, to the extent that this committee is interested and able, I would love it if you would show up. Because here's where we are. We are at the ground floor of addressing this. A very critical time, a very important time, but also a very exciting time, because we get to bring in organizations like yourselves who are already doing work, but who can contribute to this layered process of forging and charting a path forward. Santa Fe College has been brought in to serve as the convener of a task force. I am envisioning organizations like yours, like Santa Fe itself, like the University of Florida, like HCA, like Shands Health, and so many more coming to be institutional partners, but then, needless to say, community organizations. It's really not my job to figure out how the task force comes together. That has fallen to Santa Fe. Dr. Paul Brody has brought in a staff person, and please excuse me because I cannot remember her name right now. She and I have had a conversation and the opportunity to meet. Very, very excited about her, but it's her job to pull together and form this task force that I've been very, very intentional in sharing and reiterating to her how important it is that the community organizations lead this process, that the impacted community lead this process. So on the 27th of this month, I've asked that Santa Fe come to our joint city-county meeting and give us an update on where the task force is. What I envision is that this task force's task will be the creation of a plan. When you look at places like New York, you look at places like LA that has an Office of Neighborhood Safety that operates out of its health department. They have these plans that are created by these task forces. And so literally they dedicate X amount of months or a year to the creation of this plan, and then it becomes time to implement it. It is measured, data is collected, things go up on a website, so it is available for public consumption, and that's really, really critical. So the community can see the work that is being done. And then we wait for the impact. But I believe that this organization, to the extent that you are willing and that you are able, would be an incredible part of the task force. I would hope that this committee would want to serve in some capacity. We are choosing to address gun violence from a public health capacity. And so all that basically is that says all hands on deck. All hands on deck. Every organization, every institution participates in some way in helping to address the issue of gun violence. And many of you have already begun the work. So it just becomes coming together and really almost just like information sharing, putting what you're doing in a single space, say up on a website so individuals can see what it is. You are offering gun locks. You are doing these events. So now everybody can see this on a single website, and we are all one conglomerate of organizations that are working together to address this. So I'll kind of stop talking because I could talk much, much longer about this, but I just want to express my gratitude for you, because knowing that the League of Women Voters is moving in a way on this is critical. And I thank you so much for what you're already doing. I look forward to working with you on future efforts and certainly hope you'll join us on the task force.
Thank you, Commissioner. On the joint city-county meeting, you said it's February 27th. Do you know the time?
So let me, if you don't mind, Ms. Sappho, can I get back with you on the time?
Okay.
I'll gladly share that with you and you can send that out to this committee or anybody else in the league. But I don't want to give you an incorrect time right now. And that's what I would be doing if I tried to tell you exactly what the time is. For some reason, the afternoon sounds like around 1-ish sounds right, but let me double check that and I'll get back with you on that, okay?
All right, sounds good. Um, thank you for coming on and talking to us about what your vision is of what has been happening with the city. As I said, I personally I have been seeing bits and pieces. I saw the mayor on he was on the morning show the other day, maybe yesterday, and my days are running together also. But I did see that, and I know that there had been some conversation about even cutting back on the funding for this issue, these issues, and we thought that was not good to hear. So we're hoping that. And I know what you're saying that the position that you do have is limited funding, but we certainly know how important these issues are, and that there is a need to continue this. So um, I believe whatever we can do in that regard, as far as expressing our views on that, would probably be something that would be helpful as well. And I also definitely agree with you on getting the young people involved. Those are the people who are probably most affected by this, and we need to know what they have to say. Um, this summit was a really good summit. It was a summit that was held in, I mean, 2 day summit held at the Hilton.
Mhm.
Um, in my opinion, it may have been better held you have to sometime you have to all the time meet people where they are. So that might not have been the it was nice, and don't get me wrong about that, but I just
Mhm.
thought, well, we need the people that are most affected by this to be there, and they're probably not going to come here. So
Mhm.
we got to figure out ways to get into the community and do and spread the word, or whatever it is that we need to do. And maybe that's a part of what the task force would talk about, and maybe that's something, but that's those are the things that come to mind when you talk about what about the young people and what we need to do, because we have to go to people. We can't expect people to come to us. You're muted.
Muted. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Sappho. You definitely have to meet people where they are. To your point, Ms. Sappho, I remember when staff was doing their walkarounds and coming to commissioners, and particularly when they got to me, they were very excited about the location because they wanted a place that was pretty. And I remember saying, I'm not concerned about pretty. I'm concerned about access. I'm concerned about access, particularly by the people who are most impacted by this. I used to work in the heart of Liberty City. Does anybody know where Liberty City is?
Yeah.
All right. All right. So Liberty City is a community in Miami. And I tell people who don't know where Liberty City is, if you have ever seen cops, you've seen Liberty City.
Ah,
You have ever seen the first 48, you have seen Liberty City. And you probably saw the street that I worked on.
Mhm.
I worked at a place called the African Heritage Cultural Arts Center. It was right on the corner of 62nd and 22nd. And to try to make a long story short, on that corner of 62nd and 22nd, you could, and meaning a child could engage in any manner of ill that he or she wanted. Whether it was selling drugs, doing drugs, prostituting, pimping, scamming, whatever you wanted to do that was wrong was available to you on the corner of 62nd and 22nd. But you know what else was available to you on the corner of 62nd and 22nd? The African Heritage Cultural Arts Center. And what I watched as a teacher of theater there was a large majority of the children in that community choose the Cultural Arts Center. I watched kids who had previously been involved in the wrong thing begin to choose the Cultural Arts Center. Why? Because it was there and it was accessible. I'll share this story with you. I was standing out on the back of the Cultural Arts Center one day with my former boss, Mr. Marshall Davis. We watched 4 young African-American young men come walking across the field. We knew they did not belong to us, but we knew they were kids from the community. At the time, all of them had on black jeans and long white t-shirts. It would have been very easy to profile them as gang members. But instead of doing that, we stood there and we waited for their approach. When they got up to us, the leader of the pack, who would affectionately become known as Black, said to me, "Yo, what this is?" And I said, "I am so glad you asked." I took the group on a tour of the band room, the dance studio, the photography lab, the art gallery, the museum, the 250-seat black box theater space that I managed that was attached to the shop where the kids made all of the set pieces for all of the theater productions, as well as the costumes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. By the time we were done, every last one of those kids wanted to go to the African Heritage Cultural Arts Center. It was a tuition-based program at the time. I walked into Mr. Davis's office. I said, "Mr. Davis, I need 5 scholarships today. I want them to start on Monday." I don't care what you have to do. He found the scholarships. Each one of the young men started the program. Over time, all of them fell off, but Black. Black kept coming. Black was not a visual artist. He was not a dancer. He could not act, but he enjoyed the activities of the African Heritage Cultural Arts Center. He came every single day, didn't miss a beat. I left the African Heritage Cultural Arts Center to go and become the director of my own Cultural Arts Center. I became the director of the Women's History Gallery down in Sweetwater. Then I left Miami altogether and moved up to Atlanta. I got a call one day from a colleague, and she told me to sit down. I said, "I don't want to sit." She said, "No, you need to sit." I said, "I'm not sitting down." She said, "Sit down." And she told me that Black had been shot.
Mm.
I stretched out on the ground and I cried. I don't consider myself an emotional person like that, but there was a guttural cry for Black. I could hear her screaming for me to pick the phone back up. And when I did, she says to me, "But he survived." I said, "You tell that boy to call me tomorrow and I mean it. I need to know everything about what happened." He happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. But when he got out of the hospital, you know where he went. He went back to the African Heritage Cultural Arts Center. This was right before the COVID pandemic, okay? I had a conference down in Miami. So I went to the African Heritage Cultural Arts Center, and Mr. Davis and I were just about to leave to go to lunch. I was standing in the breezeway talking to some old colleagues, catching up. And Mr. Davis asked me if I had seen anyone sitting out on the front portion of the building. I said, "No, Mr. Davis, I didn't see anybody." He said, "Are you sure you didn't see anyone sitting out there, Desmond?" No sooner than he says that the second time do I hear somebody holler my name, "Miss Walker!" It's Black, working at the African Heritage Cultural Arts Center. No one has to tell me about how spaces like that save lives. I've seen it. I've participated in it. I've watched it galvanize communities. I've watched it bring families together. I happen to love the arts just for the sake of the arts. My parents involved me in it when I was very, very young, so theater has been my thing for a long time. But I understand the power of theater as well. There's a reason that the University of Florida has an arts and medicine program, because arts is therapy. It is therapeutic. There is also evidence that supports the fact that theater is directly linked to literacy and reading comprehension, that music is directly linked to math. And so I believe that there is much to be said about us leaning in on opportunities to infuse the arts in education, and frankly, to bring a cultural arts center very much like the African Heritage Cultural Arts Center right here. So I put that forward about 1.5 years ago. The commission supported that unanimously. And so now we have begun the work of figuring out how to get that accomplished. Ms. Sappho just hit on something very important. We literally, in our last meeting, had to have a conversation about cutting a portion of gun violence prevention from the budget. What? Didn't we just declare this as a crisis? Didn't we just spend a nice bit of money on this elaborate 2-day affair at the Hilton, this summit, this 2-day summit? How dare we attempt to cut gun violence prevention from the budget? Yet it was up to be cut. Thank goodness in that meeting, we were able to pull funds from another item to support that. But it's important to know where the city is fiscally on this. It's important to know that those are the types of cuts that we are facing, and it's not going to stop there. That will not be the first time that we will have to entertain something like that. On that same agenda was the cutting of a grant for at-risk youth. So what does that say? That says that we need our community organizations. We need the county now more than ever. We've got to all step up to the plate because gun violence isn't going anywhere unless we are intentional and strategic about addressing it. We need a plan. What else? I don't want to talk too much. I always feel like I need to woosah and calm myself down because I could talk for a very, very long time about this. Ms. Sappho, reel me back in, please.
Well, you've given us a lot to think about, a lot of information to digest, and we again appreciate you coming on. And as I said, the summit was great. It was like, I mean, it was A1, the way it was put on and everything. It was real good. And then to know that after that, that's when the real work gets done, when you really got to get into the weeds and get things done and get to the people. I'm going to open it up so that others will have an opportunity to make comments or ask any questions while we have you with us. And we're gonna start with Candy.
Uh-oh, she's muted.
I so appreciate your wonderful storytelling and the update that you've given me. I moved here 5 years ago from Johnson County, Kansas, outside of Kansas City, and we had a shooting there. And I don't know the details, but I believe that one or two of the people involved were young people, and it just breaks my heart that that has to happen. And I know, Representative Hinson is trying to do, let's keep our guns safe from being stolen out of cars and that kind of stuff. But I'm really interested in knowing where the commission is going to be. I mean, like you said, places to go and things to do and jobs. And so what I putting that together, it reminded me that when I worked in the school district a while ago, they had a place that what was happening was the juvenile detention center had been completely redone, and then they decided they didn't really want to house kids in juvenile detention centers, which was lovely. But they had this wonderful space, and they made it into what they called the spot, where kids could come after school, get a snack, do something cool. And I believe it was there that this happened to be a Hispanic thing, that he started a club called the Lowriders Club, where the kids made refurbished bikes that had been donated into cool bikes and stuff like that. And once again, it was something to do that wasn't necessarily arts, but boy, were those bikes artistic. And they had, so Erica, I'll send you that in an email, because just having something to do and to be proud of is so important. So my question is, how involved are you planning to be? Because, kids go to schools, and I hate putting responsibilities on schools. I really do hate putting another burden on schools, but I bet they want to be a partner in how do we get kids involved, and you know, because we all benefit when our kids are better. So I don't know, is there any of that kind of, I wasn't at the summit, so is there any conversation about that?
Candy, thank you for that question, and thank you for that information about the bikes that were being built. Absolutely. So the Alachua County School Board is certainly a part of this conversation, and they are very excited about coming in to this effort. They have to. They absolutely have to. Interestingly enough, I was talking to a friend of mine about one of the most successful campaigns during my childhood. I came up during the time that Nancy Reagan was pushing forward to just say no. And it was everywhere. It was do y'all remember that? It was on ads, it was on billboards, it was taught in the classroom. I remember being a child on the playground chanting with my friends, just say no, just say no. There's something impactful when a jingle or when a slogan takes up that space in your mind and you begin to speak it, you begin to chant it. And so I was sharing with a friend of mine, you know, this is what we need. We need that type of infusion. We need that type of movement, because that is what it was. It has to infiltrate everything we do. It has to be in the churches and a part of the church bulletins. There was a piece of, I believe, what Mayor Eric Adams did in New York that was part of every sermon. If it wasn't every Sunday, it was at least one Sunday out of a month that was literally dedicated to teaching and preaching about nonviolence. That was the role that some of the churches began to play. Hospitals had up different posters, you know, whatever. This is where the work comes in. As you all congeal, I'm already putting you on the task force. As you all congeal in the task force, perhaps part of the work is the creation of this campaign. To me, it absolutely has to be that. It's yard signs. It is, like I said, in the schools. It becomes a part of the curriculum. Right now, my hand inadvertently is pointed across the street, almost unintentionally, but somehow subliminally intentionally, because across the street from my house is Duval. Duval, okay? When we talk about the schools, Candy, Duval is a school that is very near and dear to my heart, not just because I live across the street from it, not just because my parents met in the 3rd grade there, or that I went there, but because I have watched that school evolve over time. And I remember, though I was, I believe, not here, I had not yet moved back home, but when Duval shuttered, this community shuttered. See, I remember when Dr. Leonetta McNeely infused the arts by bringing the, I want to say, what was the name of it? The arts. It was a school of the arts. Let me just say it like that. I don't want to slaughter the name, but it was a school of the arts that was a part of Duval. Okay. She took the school from an F to an A in 9 months. That part I do know. An F to an A in 9 months. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We've seen this work before. So what I'm lobbying for is, first of all, for Duval to come back as a school.
So can I interrupt you because obviously I'm a newcomer. Why was it shuttered? What happened?
And those are still questions. So let me be clear. In District 1, several schools are struggling, okay? And I want to be fair that the depth of conversation that is really required, I have not had with all of my colleagues on the school board. And I've heard a few different things, okay? I want to be fair to them. I think a conversation with them would really be the best, because I'm not an expert from the school board. But what I can tell you is this. In the shuttering of Duval, we witnessed children who normally would be able to walk from point A to point B, parents either walking with them or knowing that their children were able to access early learning education here. They can no longer do that. They're being bused to other places. I don't know if it's Parker that these young children are going to now, but my point is this: they need to be able to go to Duval. And if I had my druthers, I would see the arts brought back to Duval, but I also would see a curriculum that focused on nonviolence. We want to see our children have been programmed. I firmly believe that. If you look at what is happening in society, violence is everywhere. Violence is everywhere. At the summit, you'll remember, I very intentionally had a youth summit. I had a panel, a youth panel. And Ms. Sappho, to your point earlier, a lot of those young men I knew, they were from some very successful programs, but to be honest with you, I wanted some other young people. And I asked for staff to intentionally get me some other young people who were not a part of those organizations, because those are the ones who I needed to hear from. And those are the ones I wanted to give voice to. It's okay, we still have plenty of opportunity for that. And we still got wonderful data. I don't know if anybody on this call was there, but if you remember, we were addressing the music, particularly drill music, which is a style of rap that glorifies violence. Pick any drill song you want, and the individuals who are rapping or singing in the song are holding up assault rifles and pistols all throughout. That is what it glorifies. I had asked for staff to distribute the lyrics to a song, and literally 5 minutes before that panel began, I walked up to the gentleman who was running the AV. I said, "Do you have capacity to show the video?" He said, "Sure." I said, "I want you to show the video." I had decided that 5 minutes before the panel. I had seen the video 1,000 times. I wasn't going to show it to you, but then I said, "No, you have to see this, because you need to know what our children are listening to and consuming every single day." If you have not seen it, the clip that I showed was from a song called "Who I Smoke." And it is by some young men out of Jacksonville, Florida, who literally were talking about other young men that they had shot and killed, real cases. And it is played over a very beautiful song that was very popular back, I want to say the late 90s. Perhaps Ms. Sappho, I'll send you the link and you can share it with this group. And it starts out very benign with these young men in a golf cart on a golf course. And then the first lyric is, "When I see you, I'm gonna push your back, boy. 12 paramedics couldn't save your effing life, boy." Drill music.
Yeah, and that was the that was the first time I had ever heard of drill music.
Oh yeah.
And the
Oh
first
yeah.
time I had ever seen that video. So I had no idea. But yeah, there are a lot of issues that have to be discussed and that have to be dealt with. That's for sure.
That's
Does
just the
anyone
music, Ms. Sappho. And I'm sorry if I
That's
can say
just the
this,
music.
because I'm talking about the need to create a movement, right?
Right.
Do you all remember, this had to be, I don't know, not yet 5 years, I don't believe. There were two adolescents. There was a 12-year-old boy and I believe a 14-year-old girl right over in Ocala who had broken into, I think it was a police officer's home, and commandeered some of his weapons. They showed a clip on the news of an officer, his body cam footage. You could hear him saying, "Please don't make me do this." His voice was quivering. It would send a chill up your spine. Perhaps I'll send you that clip as well, because here was a 12-year-old little boy, and a 14-year-old girl who could be heard saying, "I'm going to roll this thing like GTA." What is GTA? Grand Theft Auto, which is a video game. These are two children who are pointing loaded weapons at the police. And the policeman is sitting here with a quivering voice, praying he will not have to shoot a child. We need a movement. We've got to deprogram these children. The message has to be everywhere. And we have to start from the cradle now, you all. So it's critical what we're doing with schools like Duval. and frankly, everywhere else.
Right.
The children have to be deprogrammed and reprogrammed. I'm done. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. We need to hear everything that we need to hear so that we decide we can know how we need to move forward. Candy?
Just one quick thing. I know that Gainesville for All has opened up the Family Learning Center at Metcalf Elementary. I think that's a beautiful way to start the learning from the babies on up to help that message get across. Are you familiar with the Family Learning Center?
I am, and I do believe that is a wonderful way. Once again, we're here on the ground floor, and so ideas like how we begin to get the information to the places that it needs to be, this is the time to decide that. I'm so hopeful that you all will be a part of this process, because we need good thinkers. We need folks who understand how to think, how to organize, how to pull the logistics together to make this all happen. But yes, absolutely. I think that is certainly one of the organizations and entities that would benefit greatly from that.
Thank you. I just want that place to succeed in a very big way. And
sure.
so having programming like that may bring good attention to the good work that they're doing when they take little ones and start them on the right track from the very
sure.
beginning. Yeah.
Absolutely. So. Teaching them the value of human life, I think, is important. Kids have to value life.
Absolutely. Anyone else have any questions or comments for Commissioner Duncan Walker? Okay, well, we certainly appreciate you being with us tonight. And the other part of that too is that we have to prevention and safety, because the safety of the guns and suicide and those kinds of things are part of this too. So there are a lot of pieces to this puzzle that have to be thought thought about and talked about and taken into consideration as this task force come together. So we, as a committee, will certainly, as a committee, and then as the chapter, the league as a whole, would have to determine how we can actually get involved. We can all get involved individually.
Yes.
But as the league, we have to see, and we will certainly talk about, because this is what we want. We want to know what's going on, and we want to know where we're needed, and then we can figure out where we can actually fit in and do some things. So, Commissioner, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it. And we, if no one has any more questions, we will allow Miss Duncan Walker to go and enjoy her evening, unless you have another meeting.
And I do, but this has certainly been the highlight of my night. I want to thank you all once again for the work that you're doing. I want to thank you and for the work that you will do. I'm looking forward to working with you.
Thank you, and we'll certainly stay in touch.
For sure, for sure. Oh, please don't forget the 27th. I will send in information to you, Ms. Sappho.
Please do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Right. Good night. Okay, that was good. Hi, hello, Mr. Marino.
Hi. I missed all the meetings last semester because I had a class, but
well, you only missed 2 because we only started in December, so you're good. And if you want to get caught up, you can. They are on YouTube, Connie. How do you find those?
So the easiest way would be to go to the Gun Violence Prevention and Safety Committee webpage, and then they'll be listed under the articles where the recordings are published. You can also go to our YouTube channel and they will be there. I think I need to have Wes make a playlist of just these meetings, since there's so many of them.
Okay, that's the league.
Yes, League of Women Voters for Alachua County.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right. And at the beginning, we did introduce ourselves and just say a little bit about how we became involved with the league. So if you would like to.
Okay. My name is actually Peter, and I'm a retired English professor from upstate New York, and I live here, and I've lived here for about 8 years. I'm sort of a professional volunteer. So my neighbor you probably know Diana Boxer. She's lives 2 doors down from me. She and I occasionally do tabling for the league at various events. So that's been the extent of my participation in the league so far. But this issue is very near and dear to my heart. So I thought I would pop in and see what was going on.
Well, we are so glad you popped in, and we want you to stay in. So don't you go anywhere.
Okay.
We have declared you a member of this committee. If you attend one meeting, you're a member of the committee. So it is almost 7:30, and we do try to stay within an hour, but we have time to do just a little bit on further on the agenda. And I would like for Candy to just talk about a few things that have that happened last week.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I know that we had uh, Rebecca Darnell come and talk to us from Moms Demand Action, if you'll remember that. And she and I'm a member, and I think you are as well, Gwendolyn. But Moms Demand Action had asked for people to send emails and do all that kind of stuff when there was some concern that the money for the gun violence prevention was going to go away. So sending an email. And I will tell you that I got 2 responses that were very supportive of our request and everything. And obviously, I think her name is Shanae Jackson, was very on the Alachua County Moms Demand, and was very ebullient about how wonderful it was that we kept the money in place for gun violence prevention. Today, I believe was it today or yesterday? We got an action alert from the League of Women Voters of Florida. The state league sent out, because gun violence prevention has replaced natural resources as one of our 4 main legislative priorities. All right. So we've got voting rights, education, reproductive rights, and gun violence, which is just, everything in a nutshell for me. And they were saying that tomorrow morning, you might look in your emails if you get that. They're going to be voting on 2 bills in the House. One of them is moving the age to buy weapons from 21 back to 18. Remember, it was raised to 21 after the Parkland shootings, right? And now there are people, and it's actually getting a hearing that it will be, they're going to vote on whether to bring down the age of purchase to 18. And the second one has to do with allowing I think it's a 3-day waiting period to buy a long gun, which includes AR-15s. And so they've asked us to send a bunch of emails to those people, encouraging them to vote no on those 2. So everywhere, everybody everywhere is trying to work on it. We have to work on it in so many levels. I love Ms. Walker's idea that it has to be local. I mean, it's one thing to do work in the legislature, but it's probably a lot more satisfying to do it locally. It's hard to be happy with what goes on in Tallahassee. So anyway, was there anything else? There was supposed to be a press conference at that thing, but that fell apart because Shanae Jackson, who was going to be speaking at that press conference, had to stay home because there was a shooting at her daughter's school. Now, how awful is that? So we just, it's so ubiquitous in America. It's not, because there are more guns than people in America. So there you go.
Yeah. Thank you, Connie.
I just wanted to say that if you did not receive that action alert in your email, I will be getting that up on the League of Women Voters of Alachua County website later today, this evening. It expires tomorrow at 8 a.m., but I will publish it anyway.
Okay. All right. And so in that action, it tells us exactly what we need to do. I'm assuming. Okay.
There are
All
email addresses. You can just copy and paste and send one email if you want to.
Okay. All right. Very good. Okay. Well, as I said, we excuse me, we have been going through I almost said lunch and learn, but it's listen and learn. We're not having lunch. We're listening and we're learning different things that are going on in the community. So as we do that, we are thinking about where we fit in and what we need to do. So that's what I want you to be thinking about. As you, if you didn't attend the meetings, I have, there are some notes and there are the videos from before and where we are and what the commissioner just said to us. So I want you to think about what we can do as a league from the league perspective, what your suggestions are, and then we can kind of move forward as our next step. Next month we will talk about that, or we may have someone else that will be speaking to us. If we have a speaker, of course, that takes up most of our time. But at some point, we're going to stop and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. So we listen well, but we're gonna need to take action after some time, and we already are in some instances. But I'm going to think about who else we should bring in right now, and if you have ideas on who you think we should bring to the meeting to talk about this issue, if you can't think of anyone or any organization right now, let me know in a couple of days so that I can make contact and see if they can attend our meeting in March. But I think that's the next step. Eventually, we take action after we listen and learn. And I think we've learned a lot from the 3 meetings that we've had now. So, are there any other general comments, suggestions, or questions at this time?
So I can't attend the meeting on the 27th that she was referencing. There a way for us to find out what happens at that meeting?
Yes. Once she tells me the time, if I can, I'll be there.
Mhm.
What date is the 20? The
I think
27th is
it's a
next week, isn't it?
Tuesday. I
Yeah,
think
that's
it's
the
a Tuesday.
that's our board meeting as well. But if it's during the day on a Tuesday, I will make some time to try to get there, and sometime it's what do you call it? It's
Or-
televised.
Yeah. Oh,
Mhm.
Well,
There is a
Live streamed.
yeah.
live stream, and there's usually recordings because especially a joint city county meeting.
yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. But I'll once she gives me the information, then I'll let you all know when it's actually happening. Because you know, all of this stuff happens so fast. It just like the things going on in Tallahassee. They happen so quick, and you have to move. And sometimes you miss some things because of how fast they happen. And when Connie told me about what was happening last week, it was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to be out of town, so I can't come. But we do the best that we can. But yes, we will make sure that you know what happened at that particular meeting.
And so my other question to you is, do you have a listserv of the committee members? Do I need to make sure you have my email address?
Yes, ma'am. You didn't get an email from me?
No, I found out about this because I looked on the schedule, the monthly schedule. So I think your email is on there. I'll send you an email with my email
Yeah.
address.
So that's good though. The monthly schedule is working, Connie. So we can't always grab everybody, but I do have a list of individuals that have said that they're interested. And this meeting is held the same time every month. Um, what is this? The second, the third,
Third.
whatever it is. Okay, it's the third Tuesday at 6:30, and
Okay,
via Zoom. So, but please send me your contact information. I
I
make
will.
sure you include it in any correspondence that we might have through the committee. Okay. Anything else before we go?
Thank you.
Do you all think we're progressing? We're making some progress with the things that we're doing here. Yeah. Yeah, I think and I think that I'll just we'll just continue to move forward. As I said, we'll either have a speaker or we'll be ready to start really talking about what we want to do. So I want you to think about that based on the things that we've heard, based on the things that we know, and and where we can fit in. And that'll be our that's our next goal. Anything that you have in between time, please feel free to just send me an email about it. And if it's something we need to share with the group or whatever, we can do that as well. But just let me know what you're thinking. Let me know how do you think we need to proceed. All right. Thank you so much for coming on, and we will be talking to you all soon. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Gwendolyn.
Thank you.
I can't.
You can Candy, hold on. Okay, good.
I'm
Hold on one
trying
second.
to. Yeah.